You know what's funny about this is I feel like I just it just grows in the goatee form for some reason. So I feel like it looks like I'm culturally appropriating a NASCAR fan. So I'll probably get soon enough. But yeah, I don't know why it grows that way, man. I want to grow what you have. You have like the chops and the beard. It doesn't happen for me for some reason.
See, the one thing though is I have this like the mustache area loves to like curl, like not in the right way. It curls into my mouth, so it's like I can't even grow it out.
You can't even do the Wario thing. I
Yeah,
feel
I would
that.
love to do that. It's just it doesn't grow out that way. It'll just grow right into my mouth. Like, all right, I'm eating facial hair now. It's great.
Well, Jordan, it's great to have you back on, man. I got to ask, I know we're here to talk about the brand new single, The Hungry and the Dangerous, which is your solo effort. I got to ask, I've had you on the show, obviously, before with Suspicious Minds. What's up with the band? Are you guys on a hiatus right now? Is the band done? Is there a lot of drama? If so, please fill me in.
I know it has been a question I've been getting asked a lot lately.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's hard to explain because after we did SMTV, it was like a live album we did at the end of 2019 after the tour and everything. The band kind of got into this weird limbo mode where we essentially started. We were asking all these deep questions. We were ready to go back in the studio, start working on a new record. And then some of the band members were just like, nah, like I want to slow down. I want to slow things down. It's going too quick, going too quick. And we're like, well, this is how you capitalize on what we've been building. And essentially last year we decided to make a plan that we were going to write a new record, and it just all fell apart. And we were able to get one song done, and then we released it, and they just a few of the band members just decided not to wanting to push it or even want to announce it or anything like that. It became a huge deal, and then a few of us started fighting in between, a lot of like just creative struggles and stuff like that, which then became essentially me trying to eventually walk away from the project altogether. And we ended up having conversations where they're like, no, let's try to figure this out, and then that was kind of where it was left off. I mean, and it wasn't until about December of last year, 2020, where right before Christmas time, we got on the phone again and we're like, okay, so what are we doing here? And that's why I started kind of taking a step away and started working on my own solo stuff, because I just didn't want to sit here and do nothing. Like I have this, I'm sitting in the studio all day. I want to put out music. I want to write. And we decided like, yeah, let's try to do something. And then we finally got them into the studio and we all started working on new tunes. And then all of a sudden it just stopped again. And we're kind of in that mode now. So at this point, I've been talking with our bassist Dan a lot about this, because me and him are the ones who really produce most of the music. Yeah. And we've just been talking about it, and we're like, well, is this just going to be something that just kind of goes on hiatus for a while? And if they decide they want to do it, we do it. Because like right now, like Frank, our lead singer, and Mason are involved in a lot of other projects, and they've been kind of putting a lot of more priority on that, and as well as our other guitarist Pete, he's in another project, and they've been really busy. So I guess essentially, yeah, we're on a not announced hiatus, and even so, I don't know, man. That's all I got for you.
Well, it's funny because I always feel like being in a band it should be the easiest thing in the world. To me, it always was, but it feels like for a lot of people, it seems like their experience is a lot different. It could be the hardest thing. It should be easy, but yeah, keeping bands together and going is one of those things. And I think you're you're lucky that you're the singer. You can go off and do your own thing. You can sing and stuff. When my bands like fall apart, it's like, well, I guess I'll just go drum by myself. So at least you can put out records. And I think the new stuff is great, man. The Hungry the Dangerous is a great song. And it kind of continues on where you left off in my mind with Suspicious Minds. You've always had like your music it's like an 80s vibe to it, in the sense that it's kind of like just really grandiose, huge rock songs. Are you a massive fan of like 80s music, or am I just totally hearing that all wrong?
Oh no, that's my entire life. I grew up like my first songs I ever heard in my life was Def Leppard's Hysteria, that record, and then like Tears for Fears, big songs from the Big Lounge album. And since then, my parents were like diehard fans of rock and roll, like the 80s hair metal rock, and that's what I grew up on. I grew up on all of that, and growing up like especially into like the early 2000s, there wasn't much of a glam scene, and I was still that guy with the really long hair and all the makeup, and I'm like, I'm trying to make this happen. And I guess now it's finally catching up to the point where people are like, hey, the 80s is kind of cool again. So
yeah, the nostalgia kicks in, I guess.
But yeah, no, I've loved 80s hair metal and glam rock, stadium rock, whatever it is. It's been kind of how I've formed who I am, So essentially,
whenever we had you on the show at Suspicious Minds a couple years back, we talked about your go-to karaoke song, I believe, was The Outfield. Was that the song it was? I remember we did it live on the radio, and I'm sure the Buzz listeners were probably like, what is happening? It was so funny to do that. And also, I posted that video of that flock of seagulls pin last night. You were the one person who responded to that in the sense of, whoa, it's, besides some people laughing at me, you were the one person that was like, it's a flock of seagulls pins. I love that band. I think they're extremely underrated. I
They
think
are.
they go far past the Iran stuff. I mean, that's a great song, but it's like, I feel like most people just know them for that, you know?
You know what's really funny about that is the song "Finding Atlantis." I wrote it when I was in school at Full Sail, and the first version was actually all written acoustically, and it
Wow.
was really cool. I actually had to submit it to a songwriting panel, and you'll find this really funny. One of the guys on the songwriting panel was the guitarist of Flock of Seagulls.
No way.
And I was like, and of course, I'm the only guy who knows who he is. Like everyone else is like, who's Flock of Seagulls? So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, and he hears my song, and he starts laughing. And I'm like, is that a good laugh or is that a bad laugh? Like what? And he goes, well, I have to ask, who was your influence on this? And I'm like, well, I didn't run very far away from 80s metal music, if that's what you're asking. And he started
Yeah.
dying laughing. Nicest dude in the world, though.
Yeah. Was it
Yeah.
Paul Reynolds? I think Paul Reynolds is one of the greatest guitar players of all time, man. Like
It might have
super
been.
good.
I think it was him because he does he live in Florida? Because
I think
the guy,
so.
yeah,
I think
I think it
so.
was him. Yeah,
That's
super
so
nice
good.
guy.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so you were saying you were down on Broadway last night. I want to ask your opinion on this.
Sure.
One of the most confusing things, obviously, this last year has been full of confusion and a lot of, it seems like a lot of things that would, you can do one thing, you couldn't do the other. A lot of silliness over the last year, in my opinion. One of the things I thought was the silliest was that for the last year, when original bands couldn't really be on stage, but yet cover bands could play songs of original bands. What's your thoughts on that? I always thought that was the strangest thing. I have so many friends who couldn't play shows, and then they basically could book a cover show. We almost booked a Cavo cover show just to play Cavo covers because not really Cavo
The
then.
Blue Oyster Cult way of doing it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, the corner way, exactly.
Hey, why not?
Yeah,
No, I agree with you. I think it's a lot of just political nonsense. Because, like, from what I mean, I could be wrong, but from what I was hearing is it really came down to a lot of the guys who run those huge places on Broadway refusing to want to close to Cooper and stuff. And
yeah,
I mean, I think it's kind of silly. Like you're telling me I can go drink at the Valentine or the Mellow Mushroom and listen to Pour Some Sugar Me Be Done wrong 90 different times, but I can't go see an awesome rock band at the Exit In. Are you kidding me? Like, do
yeah,
have capacity at least, or like I love what Exit In's doing now with the outside stage, but
yeah. Me
yeah,
too.
it's just so silly because like I engineer with Icon Entertainment Group out there, and right now it's kind of funny because when sometimes when I'm doing shows, you'll see people and none of them are wearing masks, and it's more
Yeah,
filled up than a room that you'd maybe see at a local show, and it's like, okay, so it's okay to do this, but all right, whatever, it's politics, I guess. Rock and roll always is going to get the short end of the stick,
oh
always.
yeah, always. And I think
Yeah.
it was interesting to see just 2020 with like so many like not want to say wasted records, but like records that came out that I think would have taken bands to the next level. And to have seen like everything just went away was the most unfair thing to see how the music industry really had to struggle. One of the instances I would say is the band Moaning, which is a band I love on Sub Pop, and the first record did pretty well, and this new record was about to sometimes the sophomore record takes you to the next level, and then all this happened and they can't tour, and it's just like, man, that's just heartbreaking to see
It's
because
a
I feel like
nightmare.
in my experience, a lot of like my band's career, when things went bad, it wasn't because of pandemics or things like that. So at least we can point at like, oh, well, someone screwed up. But what a terrible situation where it's like, well, this is totally out of our hands. I guess we'll
Yeah.
just join a cover band so we can play songs, I guess, you know?
Well, I think the thing that sucks too is like you think about it, like all these, you think about like the bands that are super successful or have been like let's talk about like let's go back to the '80s hair metal bands like Skid Row and things like that.
Yeah.
They have these viewpoints of like, oh well, it sucks to not be on the road and not doing this and doing this 24/7, whatever. But I look at it like, well, let's think about this. You at least when you were in your point of your career, like look at the bands that are trying to come out right now, the adversities that we're having to face in today's world, especially with
Yeah.
like rock and roll seamlessly kind of getting neglected more and more. It's like,
Yeah.
think about being a guy in his mid 20s or his late 20s or even teenager trying to break into this industry where you can't tour. The only avenue that you have to get new fans is maybe you get on a Spotify playlist. Maybe you get a cool video that strikes right with one cool DJ. Like
Yeah.
it's because it's not that it's scarce. It's just I feel like the platform itself of like the landscape of the music industry is trying to adapt so quickly. And I just feel like every day it's like a new challenge. You have to just overcome it. And I don't know. I just think it's hard for me to start listening to a lot of these older guys now when they try to give you advice. Oh, here's what you need to do. It's like, well, have you ever been in a pandemic? Have you ever been told, like, after doing several tours, you can't tour anymore? You can't
Yeah.
do this. Like, and you don't have the labels backing. You don't have a catalog of music that's paying you monthly. And like, and that's another thing I did during the pandemic too. I worked at BMI, and I was helping songwriters get paid and stuff like that. And I saw all of that. And it's just like, that's the realism is like a lot of these younger guys who are just starving to get heard. I really wish there was more opportunity for like bands to be known, or at least opportunities for them to develop more.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of the last big checks I got was a former band of mine had a song that blew up on TikTok. I have no idea why. I assume kids were dancing to it because I assume that's what people do on TikTok. I refuse to download it and find out. But I remember
it's fun.
This is so funny. I was like, you just get paid for kids, I guess, lip singing and dancing now, which is a different world. It's a much different world. But Jordan is here talking about his brand new single, Hungry the Dangerous. Also, we should point out today is Mother's Day. I wanted to ask you, growing up, because it seems like everyone has, at least at some point in their career, a band mom. And so growing up for me, my mom literally came to like, I mean, she was so supportive, almost to a fault at times. I actually have a memory of the band I'm in now, Cavo, opened up for my old band at the Hard Rock Cafe in St. Louis. I want to say it was like 2005 or 6. It was a long time ago. And the only person that came was my mom. I have a distinct memory of playing this show, and my mom was just standing there watching. But almost to a point too, to where when things got not so good in the band world, she was never afraid to say to me, "Hey, I think it's time you tried something else." You know what I mean? She was always really honest, and I would say carefully supportive. How was your experience growing up with your mom? Was your mom like a band mom, or was she like, "Please don't start a band, Jordan"?
Well, my mom was always been my number one fan. Like, that's the way I look. That's why she's always kind of brought it to me, and I've always took it that way. Like, she never wanted to be a band mom. That's what I thought was so funny. But we always had rehearsals in my basement. So like, she always had to hear all this heavy metal or rock and roll or this or that. And she used to tell me every day, she's like, get a rehearsal place, but I'll support you, but get rehearsals. But of course, more people kept coming, and we just keep throwing down. But no, my mom has always been so supportive of everything. Like, she supported me like with every band I was in, if I was making 5 cents or if I was making good money doing it. She also supported me, but like when she was the first person I would go to, like when I wanted to make a life decision in music. Like when I first left my first band that I was doing really well with, we were touring a lot, we were getting records done, we had labels noticing us. I wasn't happy with the direction. I just didn't know what to do. And like and she, okay, go follow your heart, follow your dreams. And I kept doing that, and then all of a sudden deciding to go to school, which a lot of people are like, why are you doing that? Because you already have this good thing going with a band. Why are you just trying to take a step back? And she's like, here's what, think of the bigger picture. And she's always kind of been that for me. And she's always been able to be like the clarity that I need. And she's always at my shows. Like I hope she'll eventually come out to Nashville to come see some of this new stuff that I've been working on.
Yeah.
But no, my mom has always been there for me. And she's always the one who'll buy like 5 copies of a song or a record. And like, she'll buy all the t-shirts and
I love that. It's great to have that. I have a lot of friends who don't have that support system. So I always felt really, really lucky to have that.
No, me too. Yeah, no, it's and that's very important too. I think like, especially when and I know a lot of people don't have that like relationship with their parents, but like to have that backing where it's like, they know that you're not where you're at, and they're not going to be frustrated with you if you're not like, oh, he's 27 years old and he's not making $400,000 a year as a banker. They still like, he's living his dream. He's doing what he wants to do. And I appreciate so much about my parents.
Absolutely. And I feel like too, there's nothing more in my life, at least in my experience, there was nothing more exciting than that moment when things were good and you had quote unquote made it and your parents got to be there to see that. You know what I mean? Like when your parents are on the tour bus or at the big show and you're just like, part of you's like, aha, I was right. But the other part
see?
of you, see, look,
it's not crazy.
It's see, but then when it goes away, you're like, okay, I'm kidding. Don't look, Mom. Don't look, I'm kidding. But it is a great feeling though whenever things are good. Is your mom still up in New Jersey? Because you're from New Jersey originally, right?
Yeah, Jersey Shore, and I swear I was never a Guido. No. It's just weird because like this past year has been really kind of rocky. Like I've been obviously working so much in the studio and doing so much with different clients and stuff. But the biggest thing is I had to take some like time away because my family had hit a really big rough patch, and my parents had recently been talking about separating, and like my mom now does live in Asheville with my sisters, and My dad does live still up in like the Atlantic City area and stuff like that.
Nice.
But yeah, it's, you know, I mean, 2020 was rough on everybody, but yeah, so
Oh no.
so I guess most of my Jersey roots have been uprooted at this point.
What's the obviously in New Jersey, I think of Atlantic City, the House of Blues was always a place to play, but I always think
Oh,
of I loved the Stone Pony and the Saint. But my experience playing the Saint was so funny, man. I played the Saint coming up in my very first band, like in '06 or something. And
yeah,
we didn't really understand touring. We were just a bunch of young kids. And so we're booked at the Saint on this tour. And so keep in mind, we're in Jersey with a day off the day before. We
yeah.
didn't we didn't know how things work. So we got offered to play some like big party. And so we played that and it was like crazy packed. And then the next night we're headlining the Saint and no one comes. And so we're all sitting backstage with the owner, who I think is the same guy still. And
Yeah,
he's a hard ass dude, and rightfully so. And
yeah.
somebody makes a comment, or maybe he saw on like MySpace or something that we had played this show. And so after the show, he comes backstage to me and he's like, you're gonna pay me a lot of money right now. Like, he like hustled me up against the wall and was like, you're gonna pay me. You really screwed me over. I saw you guys played another show. And so I'm like terrified of this guy. You know, I'm like 19 or something. And I'm like, yeah, no. We get some cash out of the merch bin. So I go out and I get the merch bin and I just run. And we get the hell out of it. And so then fast forward, like, I don't know, man, 10 years later, my band's on tour. We played the Saints. And I get there and I remember being like, I hope it's not the same guy.
I
And
hope
it
it's not
was.
the same guy.
He didn't recognize me and he loved our band and people actually came. But I remember like the whole time like being like really nervous. Like, is he gonna be like, wait a minute, I remember this kid. But that's a cool place. And I think there's definitely it's one of those areas that people don't realize, like, the Saints and the Stone Pony are historical venues. And growing up, I mean, did you play a lot of those places, I assume? Like,
Yeah, so it's funny. I have a really funny story about the Saint, but so I'll do that first before I talk about that. But yeah, so the Saint, I've only played there one time because I
yeah,
agree. There's so many cool venues in Jersey that a lot of people don't realize how historical they are. Like you have the Stanhope House that like is so huge. It's like a small venue, but like Stevie Ray Vaughan used to clean dishes there so he could play guitar on stage.
that's
Such a cool
amazing.
spot. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then the Brighton Bar, which is like the Whiskey A Go Go of New Jersey, which is like
yeah.
everybody who's anyone goes there and plays. But yeah, the funniest thing about the Saint, and I've had a similar experience like you there, because we played a show there, and one of the first bands I was in, we were getting ready to go on tour, and our Jersey date was at the Saint, and we were opening up for the '80s hair metal band Tough.
This is amazing.
And it was incredible. So they were trying to build this up like it's going to be such a big show, this and that. And I'm not going to diss on Tough because they were phenomenal, and
Yeah,
they
great
gave
band.
me so much advice. And obviously the lead singer managed a really cool sleeves band that I was really into,
Yeah.
and he gave me so much advice. But like the funniest thing was when we went to go play this show, we we're like, all right, we're going to try to sell these tickets out and this and that. We sold all these tickets, but nobody showed up. So literally like so Tough comes on stage and it's just our band and the openers, and we're
Oh
like,
wow.
where did no one showed up, and we're like,
Yeah.
what happened? And then the manager or the owner tried to come at us for money. We're like, dude, we sold all the tickets, man, no one showed up.
Yeah. It must be his move.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, don't blame me. But then ironically enough, we ended up meeting a really cool promoter, which then got us into like other venues. Stone Pony, I've played a couple times. I do love that stage. I do feel like they can be sometimes a little unfair to local bands because I mean that's everywhere nowadays though. Like the whole pay to play thing. It's like
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a new model
Oh,
made around.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's how do you expect a local band that's just forming to oh here come see my band for $25 for a 15-minute set, like
Yeah. It's so
it's silly.
disingenuous too. I feel like there's
Yeah,
such a tendency where bands they'll just buy their own tickets, then no one shows up. And I remember doing that a lot in the early St. Louis days with different
yeah,
promoters. And I remember thinking, why don't we just start our own promotion company then? Because we're the ones bringing everybody here. And then you feel bad for the headliners because your friends are going to leave after you play. It's just the way it is.
yeah.
We experienced that in the Cabo days a couple years back. There was some show where the opening band had to pay and sell tickets or something, and you could just feel the vibe of like the people that were really there to see us, and then their buddies from work who just bought the tickets. So
It's true. One time I was on tour, we had this gig in Pensacola. Did you ever play the Handlebar by any
oh
chance?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, I love that joint. So
that
we
was a good
went
spot.
there. We were on tour. We were like kind of the band that no one knew about, and we had some fans in the area, so we were able to sell some tickets. But like they were trying to tell us like, oh, these local bands we're putting on the bill are going to be really good. Like they're a really good following, and then We show up there about 2 hours before showtime, or not even that. The doors would open at that point, and there was a dog running around the venue. That was it. I was like, oh God, it's one of those nights, man.
That is amazing. You literally played to a dog. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, at least there were some people who came out at some point, but yeah, it was, I was like, oh, it's just one of those nights you're playing to the animals, man.
Yeah, literally. I love it. Well, dude, since you're here, man, I definitely want to play the 5-round question game with you. We haven't played that in a long time. Let's do this. 5 questions. And I'm always afraid I mispronounce your name. Is your last name Moed or Moed? I was not sure. What is it?
I kind of almost gave up on the fight because everyone says it every other way. It is Moed, but I won't stop if you say Moed. It's cool.
No, that's cool. See, I wasn't sure. I think I've actually said Moed the last couple of times. I was afraid I was wrong, so we'll stick with that. 5 questions of Jordan Taylor Moed on the local buzz. So last night I was at a liquor store, and when I was there, the dude carding me held onto my ID, and he said, wait a minute, this is fake. Now, keep in mind, I have this goatee, so I look older than time itself now. But he was like, wait a minute, this is fake. He called over his manager to get a second opinion, then finally sold me, who's almost double the legal limit now, what I was trying to buy. So I wanted to ask you, he was just being ridiculous, or I am, in fact, the real-life Benjamin Button?
I would like to say you're the real-life Benjamin Button, but I've also been carded for trying to buy an R-rated movie recently at a Walmart. With my beard. Yeah, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, come on.
It is. I got carded for Red Dead Redemption 2, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I can buy a video game, guys. Let's not get out of control.
Should I call my mom? Like, I mean, I can if you name me.
Yeah. It's one of the things about being a band mom. You got to come buy your son things.
Exactly. Mom, the Grand Theft Auto's out.
Question number 2 with Jordan Taylor Moed on the local buzz. So one of my favorite bands is a band called Miracle Legion, and they released a thing recently. It was like the Lost Demos of '88, and it's all kinds of cool stuff. And they released on there's a cover of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, which I don't usually ever like cover versions better than the original, but for some reason this one just hits me. I wanted to ask you, what is a cover version of a song you like more than the original, if there is such a thing?
Ooh. There's a lot. I mean, I'm a guy who's very on the fence with covers too, but I don't mean to tap a local band, but I think one of the coolest covers I've heard in a minute is Them Fix's cover of "Hey Man, Nice Shot."
That
is such a jam, and I mean, that one's really cool. I mean, like a lot of these like bigger bands that do covers, I try not to like get into, but I did like Blank Space, I Prevail's cover of that. I thought that was really well done.
That was,
but yeah, no, but I don't know. Since the Them Fixes did that cover, I haven't really heard something where I'm like, wow, that's better than the original type deal.
Yeah, it really is. I love that one too. Question number 3 on the local buzz. So recently, Pepsi brought back the failed flavor from 2002, Pepsi Blue. I worked at a record store when that thing came out, and you could not give away. It was so terrible. I wanted to ask you if there was a soda from the past or like a candy from the past you could bring back. What would it be?
Oh, one. And I'm probably gonna get some crap for this, but Wonka bars.
Yeah.
Why it was the easiest promo you could have ever made, and yet they failed to make it happen. I don't know.
I just had that conversation with someone a couple days ago who'd never heard of that. I was like, it was like a s'more candy bar. I mean,
it was so good. And like all you had to do was just, okay, if you get a golden ticket, come visit the factory. Like, come on, it's already been laid out for you.
Yeah, literally. Everyone yeah. Whoever makes that, if you're listening, bring back the Wonka bar. Question number 4 with Jordan Taylor Moed on the local buzz. It is Mother's Day. Who is your favorite cartoon TV mom?
Cartoon TV mom. Ooh, that's interesting. Trying to think. Maybe, I guess for the sake of time, one that comes to mind, I guess I would have to say Lois, because she just doesn't, from Family Guy, just because she just does not give a crap about anybody or anything at this point. Like, if you go to the later episodes, she's just like, I have accepted this as my life at this point. And everyone can low-key feel that way.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very relatable. Question number 5, the final question with Jordan Taylor Moed on the local bus. So I know you've been doing some writers' rounds and stuff like that. But let's just say, visualize if you can, you're walking out on stage as a sold-out show at Exit In, you're inside, and it's a packed house. The first show you're coming out to play, you walk out there, you grab that microphone. What's the first thing you say now that you're back on stage?
See, it's crazy because I think I am supposed to be doing a show at the Exit In next month. So I don't know if I should announce that song, because that actually probably would be the first one I'd want to do. But no, I'd actually, if I could do the Exit In or just a sold out show in general, because I've missed doing rock shows so bad. Writers' rounds are great, but nothing better than getting on stage like that. I guess I'd love to see how Finding Atlantis would do. Because I never got to play that one live with a full band, and and I shouldn't say this because actually this project's becoming a band now. I shouldn't say that, but it is. But
I love that. Okay.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, as Hungry and Dangerous was coming out, we not to segue into it, but we noticed that a lot of people started asking us like, "Hey, so is this a band? We love the name." And we're like, you know what? Enough people started telling us like, yeah. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a band. Maybe we do got something cooking here. And I mean, we're working on a record right now. And I'm like, well, why put this under me? People love the name, and this band's a band. Why not? Let's go for it. Let's kill it. So,
I love it, man. Yeah. Well, dude, let's get to this song now. It's an honor to have you on the show, man. I was so stoked to do the whole Zoom thing. It's been a weird year of learning new ways to interview and stuff, but this is cool, and it's good to see you again.
You too, man.
What's the rest of 2021 looking like for you? Are you thinking maybe, I know you said maybe some shows, you thinking maybe some touring? What are you thinking?
So I know I've been reached out by a couple of people about doing some tours. I'm a little worried right now just because a lot where the bands are at, especially Suspicious Minds is not in a position to get back on the road. This new project, if we can get this record out by the end of the year, which is very possible, we're almost done with it, so it's possible we could do some shows. Yeah, I mean, I'm jam-packed for the rest of the year. I know I've got a lot of studio stuff that's getting ready to come out. I've been really busy in the production music realm too, so that's something that's about to get announced soon. But I know for sure, the second we get the green light to start touring, we're getting out there again. I miss doing like I told you, getting out there just for the band and just rocking your asses off all night. Yeah,
I love it. Well, dude, it's an honor to have you on the show, man. Once things are back to normal, I want you to come back inside. We'll do some more karaoke live on the radio.
Please, I got many of them.
Well, dude, I will see you soon as getting this song now, The Hungry and the Dangerous. Jordan Taylor Moed on Nashville's Rock Station 102.9 The Buzz. See you, man.
You too, brother, man.
Dude, sounded great.